All right, now we're going to talk about how to actually water the plant, and right at the same time we're going to talk about fertilizing the plant, because our fertilizer is going to go into our water. And what I recommend for fertilizing is very simple. Add a little fertilizer every time you water and just do that. You don't need to water, worry about what season it is or how often to do it or anything. We're using a very small amount of houseplant fertilizer. You always want to read the directions. Our particular fertilizer is a 9-3-6, meaning 9% nitrogen, 3% phosphorus, 6% potassium. Doesn't have to be exactly that, but nitrogen is the most important nutrient. And the read is 1/4 teaspoon per gallon. And on this little cap, I put it into this little transfer container because we get large amounts of fertilizer. Half a capful is 1/2 teaspoon. And 1/2 teaspoon is what we want for 2 gallons, which is how much is going to go into this watering can. So I'm just going to put 1/2 capful of fertilizer in there. It's a very small amount, but we want to make sure we do it at every watering, and that way we just keep fertilizing real simple. We'll go ahead and fill this up with 2 gallons of water. Okay, we got 2 gallons. And then real quick, the temperature of the water, if you have any control over the temperature of the water, hot and cold, try to get the water temperature to kind of be lukewarm. Tepid water so that you can't feel it. You don't want to use really cold water if you can help it, and you definitely don't want to use hot water. You just want that water to be, if you put your fingers in there, you don't feel anything, that means you're at a good temperature. So now let's go ahead and water our plant. All right, so how you water that plant is really important. We want to water it so that we get water to the whole. In fact, I'm going to put this down just to illustrate. All of this soil needs water. The top is the least important. The bottom is the most important. So when we water our plants, we want to water them thoroughly. And that's why it's so easy for water to get down in that saucer. So when we water, I'm going to try to water so you can see it. I'm going to move on this side. We want to go all the way around. Spilled a little there. And we want to focus that water really on the outer side of the pot. We're going to put some on the inside, but really on the outside because that's where most of our roots are. Okay? Now I spilled a little water into that saucer, but you can see I got way too much water in there. And again, if this was with the decorative mulch, it would be hard to know that there's water in here, but I can use this little stick, or even like an orchid stick works really well for this, but I can feel that it's wet. Or again, you could use this, and you can see when I take it out, you can see that there's a couple inches of water down there. So, even if you don't measure it to see if there's water, always want to pump that water out. So what we're going to do is pump that water out of the saucer. And just get it out of there because we don't want those roots sitting in water like that. Okay, we get it out. And again, you could use a turkey baster for this. Anything like that will work. Okay. And a little water at the bottom, not a problem. You can see there's just a small amount down there. We can't get all of it out, but pretty close. And that's it for watering. Now, when do you water next? You check with the moisture meter. You want to see if the plant needs to be watered or not. The biggest mistake I see people making is, I water every Friday or every 2 Fridays or whatever the case may be. Not a good way to water your plants. Don't water on a schedule. Water when the plant needs it. So come back in maybe a week, or a plant like this could easily go 2 weeks. It might even go 4 weeks or longer without needing to be watered. Make sure you check with the moisture meter to see if that plant needs to be watered. And if it's still moist, don't water that plant. You don't want to water a plant like this until it's dry. Most plants you don't water until it gets to dry. Unless it's a high water plant like a fern or a spath, let it dry out before you go back and water that plant again, regardless of how much time it takes. I've had some plants, like a snake plant, that have gone 8 weeks, 10 weeks, maybe even 12 weeks without needing to be watered. And typically that's when it's a low light plant, a low water plant in a very low light situation. So just water only when you need to, and when you do water, water thoroughly.